Hello, everybody. You're listening to the Avanti Wellness Podcast, hosted by me, Lydia Smith, aka Butterflydia. I'm embarking on my own transformational journey, and my intention is to inspire, inform, and support you all along the way. My hope is that we are all learning something new with each episode. So let's meet today's guest. Hello, everyone. It's Lydia from the Avanti Wellness Podcast and YouTube channel. And today I'm so excited to have a very new guest for me to get to know. I'm sitting here with Nikki Hayes. Hi, Nikki.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
Yes. And Nikki has a channel called Earth and Owl. And I was referred to her by one of our community members because they respected her channel and all that she was doing. And I love watching her channel. So I wanted to introduce you to her and also her channel. So we're going to talk about all the things that she's doing and what she's offering the global marketplace, basically. And first, though, we're going to get to know Nikki a little bit. I'm going to have Nikki introduce herself. So can you give us a little bit of background of where you're from and how you got here?
Yes, absolutely. My name is Nikki. I am 43 years old. I was born and raised in Nebraska. I actually live in the house that was built by my great-grandparents, live on the farm that my dad still farms. So very farm, life still. And my husband and I are both beekeepers. And we have 3 kids, 22, 18, turned 18 yesterday, and 16 years old. So we are inching closer and closer to empty nest. So the thing I usually tell people about myself is that I went to college to be a teacher. I was in public education for about 10 years. I was a K-12 rural school, K-12 guidance counselor, and I taught preschool, and I did a good chunk of years substitute teaching, mostly in lower elementary. And long story short, gave it all up to pursue what my heart was calling me to do, which took a little time to figure out, to be honest. But as I was approaching 40, I decided to take a yoga training. Ended up opening a small studio in my rural community. And that was 2 years prior to the pandemic. So you know what they say about it taking 2 years to turn a profit in business. I had just started that growth. My rebounding classes locally were taking off. I was actually going to start a studio in the town over. And then the pandemic hit. And I owned about 20 rebounders at the time. So I kind of quickly pivoted. I rented all of the rebounders out to my local participants, and I started a YouTube channel, honestly, more for my local friends that were coming to my classes. And I honestly, the first year, I barely paid attention to my YouTube channel. I hate to say that.
The growth strategy.
Yeah, there was no strategy. I was just putting videos on there for my local participants. And then one day I had so many people, it was frustrating. So many women over 40 say, I could never do that. No, that's a young person's exercise, So my grandma, my wonderful dear grandma, who is now 89, she would have been 86, I think, at the time. I said, Grandma, would you mind just I've got a rebounder with a handlebar. Would you do just a short video with me to show people that this is for all ages? Well, that video is one of the most viewed videos on my channel. So that really then I started paying attention to YouTube because I was having a lot of growth, and now I'm all in. It's my full-time job. I'm pretty close to about 50,000 subscribers now. And
congratulations. That's so exciting.
So I think my education background has really helped because a lot of what I do on my channel is not just perform the moves. I teach you about them. I give you strategy and teach you the form and talk about why it's good for you and important and all of that.
That's why I love it. That's why I love watching you. And that was the referral that someone said, is that go watch Nikki. She understands about good form and where you're isolating your muscles. Did you go to like a rebounding specific education training. How did you learn the form?
So I did take the Jumpsport. So, I always say the best rebounder for you is the one you're going to use consistently. So I tell people I use the Jumpsport Rebounder. So that's the training I took, was the Jumpsport Rebounder training. But in terms of learning good form, a lot of it came through practice.
And just understanding the body, right? Because you understood the body from yoga, right?
That I was just going to say. So from yoga, in a small rural community, in one yoga class, you might have a 20-year-old super fit attendee, and you might have a 75-year-old who struggles with mobility. So I spent several years really learning how to adapt movement for the people in my community. And I think that was just kind of started to naturally translate into rebounding and being online. The other thing I tell people is, so I grew up on this farm, and in the 80s, this was beginning in the 80s, it was just different times. We played outside a lot, and we didn't go to town. I mean, go to town was like a big thing.
Wait, how far is town?
It's only like 10 miles.
Okay.
I know, but in those days,
it was still like, a big deal, right?
Still a big deal. Yeah. And so when I was 12, my dad it was like winning the lottery, bought a backyard trampoline. So I spent from the ages of probably 12 to 16, all the time on that trampoline. I could do backflips and front flips, and I camped out on it. So when rebounding sort of started making an appearance, or reappearance rather.
Yeah, well, in the 80s it was, yes, right? Yes. With Albert.
I was immediately intrigued. I was like, oh my God. I mean, the memories of jumping, and I was just like, I've got to buy one. So I did. And that's when I started offering it in my studio.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I love that. I have a question about your wall. Is that like a cellular structure back behind you? What does that represent? Oh, the bees. That's a beehive.
Yes.
But did you know, you probably know this, but that is how our cells are supposed to look in our body, with minimal interstitial tissue in between. Did you know that?
No, that's a new fact for me. And I know a lot of bee facts. So.
When I saw, and by the way, I want to talk about the bees, but let me just say, when I saw your background, that's the first thing I thought of is, wow, she really knows what she's focused on, because our bodies, from the lymphatic system, are the cellular best health is when the cells are nicely tight, connected to each other. It's called a dry state. I saw this on a video about the lymphatic system. But what people like me, with all the fluid in my body, what I'm creating in my body is a state where lots of fluid is all around. And so the cells are not tight. They're floating around in the lymph and then the water in the body. And so your background, which is actually a beehive background, actually represents the potential of our best health, where our cells are all connected.
Don't you find, though, that happens in nature a lot? Like the way the rings of a tree look like your thumbprint, and it's like all interconnected.
Yeah. And what is it? Is it cauliflower looks like our lungs, or is it broccoli looks like our lungs?
Walnuts look like your brain, and they're good for your brain.
I know. Yeah. I love that. I love that about nature. Yeah, I do. Can we just divert to the bees for a second? Because one of the things that I'm doing is I'm taking the chapters. Have you read the book, The New Miracles of Rebound Exercise?
I do know what you're talking about, but I haven't read it.
So I bought it because my whole problem is, and I told you this before we hit record, is that I don't like exercise. I'm not personally motivated to exercise. I think one of the reasons is I have a really strong, dense core. Like I weighed my skeletal system on a DEXA scan one time, and the lady goes, "Oh my God, you are never going to have osteoporosis because your skeletal system weighs 115 pounds." And I was like, no wonder it's hard to move, And so I just don't love it. And so I'm that demographic. And so anyway, I was reading the book to try to instill in me why I want to be on the rebounder, other than just like some, vanity, looking good reason, but more of a cellular, my body needs the lymphatic drainage kind of a motivation in my head. That's why I bought the book. Inside the book, they talk about the 4 components of a healthy cell. And one of them, I just read it yesterday, is bee pollen. He recommends bee pollen is like the most natural whole food you could ever get to provide your body with health. And also he mentions propolis for antiviral, antifungal. And then what's the other things the bees make? The granules are I guess honey, right? But the granules are what, the pollen or granules, right? And the propolis is like a spray.
Well, if people really saw what propolis looked like, they'd be reluctant to want to try it. It's like a gooey, sticky substance that bees collect resin from trees, and it's what they use to seal up all the cracks of their hive.
Okay.
It's the stickiest substance ever. And you can, like my husband, he's the bee whisperer, I call him. He'll take his hive tool and scrape a piece of propolis off and just put it in his mouth if like he has a sore throat or something like that.
Yes. Oh, that's so healthy. That's so awesome. Do y'all make your stuff? Do you make?
No. We just, without making it a really like a long story, the extras, the collecting of the pollen, the collecting of the propolis, that's all a much more time consuming process. So we really just do honey extraction.
Okay.
Our biggest message though to people is that honey, I always ask little kids, who do bees make honey for? And the kids always say, us, me. And I say, no, they don't. They make it for themselves and we steal it. We take it from them. It's their winter food. So what you need to look for when you're purchasing honey is if you can get local and just making sure that it's someone who practices ethical and sustainable beekeeping practices. And the European honeybee is not native to the United States. So the European honeybee actually competes with our native species. So what we learned after becoming beekeepers is that becoming a beekeeper is not the best way to help bees. It's really by planting native flowers and shrubs and trees and plants in your yard that help the native species.
Right.
But I think of the honeybee as like the bee mascot. Everybody knows. So it's a good way to raise awareness about bees.
I love that. Yeah. I mean, we may go on my other podcast and just talk about saving the bees.
Yes, we could.
If you want to. What are you farming there on your land?
Well, so my dad's the farmer and we are in this area, it's corn and soybeans.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Got it. Well, I have a farming background, but it's hydroponic farming inside of an urban city. And we're like helping farmers realize that you could potentially grow on 1 acre, you can yield the crop of a 10-acre farm just through hydroponics. And so it's a neat subject. And we had bees on our 5 acres because you want to have bees and give them a source to thrive. And one of the things that they look for when they put hives around is how much pesticides, like inside the city, people use pesticides on their plants, and that kills the bees. And so you've got to learn how to be more natural with your farming or whatever, your flowers.
There's a lot of blame placed on the farmers, but the problem is your average homeowner oftentimes is less knowledgeable about the chemicals. Like farmers have to go through training in order to learn what they're using, when to apply it, how much. Your average homeowner can walk into Home Depot, grab something off the shelf and and without even really knowing all of the ins and outs of best practice.
Yeah. And somebody's just selling a product, right? So they don't care, whoever the manufacturer is. So, okay, back to rebounding. Yeah. So let's talk about do you want to educate us at all on anything about rebounding? Because, that's my thing I'm doing, but I don't really know. I'm not an expert. I just learn from people. So do you have anything you want to just kind of overview share?
I think what I'll start with is when I first entered the virtual class, YouTube, and what I found is that the beginner classes that were posted were really quite advanced. And what was happening was a lot of people were getting very discouraged very quickly and giving it up and saying, no, I can't. This is a beginner class. I can't even do this for 1 minute.
Right.
So part of what I've tried to do is make it much more accessible to people, and so that they don't feel like they have to do a 20-minute, no holds bar, workout.
Pounding.
Yes. And honestly, for a lot of people who come to my channel, many of them have health conditions or are advancing in age, and they're not even looking for that kind of workout anyway. They're looking more for the lymphatic health or just to stay mobile and flexible and have a good quality of life as they age. Now, that being said, I do offer intense workouts, but I do cater. They always say, teach to the beginner, because the people who are advanced, they can modify and adapt. They know how to do that. So teach to the beginner is going to be your best bet. And so that's what I try to do on my channel, is just let people know, hey, if you only made it 1 minute, that is okay. A lot of people only make it 1 minute. I answer a lot of questions about burning calves and my feet hurt and various, it's tough because I get asked about literally every health condition. And my standard response, just in terms of liability, is you have to ask your healthcare professional. What I will tell you is that so-and-so who's in the Lymph Love group has XYZ, has POTS syndrome. And so there are people who do rebound with your condition, but again, you have to consult your physician.
Yeah. Will you tell us, you don't have to name names or anything. We can just talk about person one. Tell us a story, because I know you've highlighted some individuals who have had amazing transformation. So let's give some inspiration to anyone who finds this podcast and wants to hear what worked for someone else, because I know you have some good stories.
Well, the first person I ever brought on my channel was my good friend Jill. Hers is for the people who are looking for significant weight loss. She is so inspiring. She lost 100 pounds and she did it in a very sensible way. No fad dieting. She just controlled her portions, ate sensibly, took a lot of the extra sugars out, and started rebounding. So there's Jill, who's gone through a wonderful inspirational weight loss. In the Lymph Love group, I've highlighted there are 2 members of that group who were in catastrophic car injuries or car accidents. And Tanya has shared her story on my channel. She has been in rehab, like physical therapy, on and off for the last 8 years. And rebounding is finally the first thing she's found that is giving her hope. She's been allowed to graduate from physical therapy. Other members of that group, there's Lyme disease, there's POTS, there's a nerve condition that affects the lower limbs. What else? Some traumatic brain stuff going on with the car accidents. So those are the health conditions. I also have someone who rebounds with me on occasion privately with Parkinson's disease.
Wow.
Yeah. The physician is thrilled, beyond thrilled, that she has a local rebounding option, because with Parkinson's disease, balance, proprioception is one of the things that you're losing. So this kind of exercise is really beneficial for that. You know, and then in addition to that, just like my dad is in a video, he has a full knee replacement. My friend Tracy did a couple of videos with me. She has a full hip replacement. So those things that happen as we age, we're highlighting that as well.
Yeah. Did you, were you working, was the weight loss story, were you working with her throughout that journey, or was she doing it on her own and then found you?
So she started coming to my classes she started the journey on her own. She had lost about 20 pounds when she started coming to my in-person. This was prior to the pandemic. So that's how I met Jill, was she just showed up at a class.
Yeah.
And then we call each other neighbors. We're not too far from each other. So we stayed friends post-pandemic, and I think I just called her and said, are you interested in free workouts, with the understanding that I'm going to record them and put them on my channel? And she was like, yes. So
you make it more fun. The more the merrier, right?
That's right. And so she started coming over just over a year ago. And we would just, do fun workouts and record them and put them on my channel.
The reason I asked you that question was because I'm reading a lot. And then, of course, have you seen the bodybuilder girls from I Jump Instead, their channel?
Yes.
Okay. So did you notice, I'm only asking for my own self, because part of what I say, and I'm only 70 days in my journey, what I tell everybody is like, just be patient, because I can feel my body structure is getting hard underneath all this fat. And I was curious if you saw that in your friend, if she was building this underneath structure with rebounding first, and then all of a sudden things start, it's like Michelangelo, the marble structure starts showing surface.
What Jill talks about, and this is just a really important component, is that in addition to rebounding, she was changing the nutrition too. And so much, they say 80% of weight loss is what you're consuming.
Exactly. And they also say you can never out exercise a bad diet.
Correct. So I think for her, the exercise helped. It was also motivation to keep eating good, eating well. She tells people that when she was in the big weight loss period, she moved her body 6 to 7 days a week for 30 minutes. She would come to rebounding 3 days a week, but on the other days she would go for a walk, or she would take her kids to the park or something like that. Now she's in more of a maintenance phase where she doesn't do 6 or 7 days a week. She does, 3 or 4. But she does share her entire weight loss journey on my Instagram. It's a pinned story. We go live and she talks about.
Yeah. And if you have, if you have anything on YouTube that I can link down below in the description, I'd be happy to share that. I'm just personally curious, because I feel like because it's a cellular workout, I was, believing that you could have like less saggy skin from rebounding versus other forms of exercise for weight loss because of the cellular component. And I was just curious if you had any experience in seeing that happen, with anybody. Like, did she benefit like that from rebounding?
I don't know whether she benefited from, I'd have to ask her for sure. I know that loose skin is something she, after losing 100 pounds.
Yeah. I mean, I anticipate that too.
Has suffered from a little bit. Especially in like her belly area.
It's natural. I mean, it's just totally natural. And I think I was just curious because for some reason, just the concept of it being a cellular workout made me think there's a possibility you're doing better for your body, especially with the structural building that's happening in the bone density and the tendons and everything. I didn't know if you knew anything about that.
I think what's different about rebounding compared to a lot of exercise is its ability to help with inflammation. Jenny from the Lymph Love group, she like almost immediately lost 10 pounds, but we all think just from looking at her that it was inflammation. Like the 10 pounds she lost was puffiness and
fluid.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely, we're opening up the drainage system and letting it out. So I totally agree. So do you want to tell us a little bit about your class, like the memberships? I want to know what you have to offer to people. Like, this is your time to let them have it.
Okay. There's a lot on my channel. It can be overwhelming to people. First of all, it's important to know I have a website, earthandowl.com, where you can get more information. I'm on every social media platform, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And the way my channel is set up, I'm type A. It's very quite organized. There are
congratulations. It's very organized. I recognize that. And you did a good job.
I have a lot of beginner series. So what I try to break it down in categories. If you are someone who has been inactive, like has not been exercising regularly, and you're looking to lose a significant amount of weight, there are a couple places you can begin. I have a beginner progression program that starts with my Grandma Helen videos. So those are very slow. So for some people that might be too slow, but for others, it's just perfect. That has a series of about 50 videos in it. I also have a 3-minute, a 5-minute, and a 10-minute series. So the 3-minute series, for instance, there are 19 videos. It's just 3-minute workouts. It kind of gives you a wonderful foundation of all the things you can do on your rebounder. But for many people, 3 minutes it's quite a bit when they first start. So that's a really good one to start with. I also have a 7-day beginner series. And those are all contained in their own little playlists. And it's right there on my channel. And it says free beginner series. Yeah. The beginner progression program is part of the channel membership. So let me talk now. That's what's free on my channel. There are other things too. Rebounder walk workouts. I have a stress relief that's a little more challenging. I have, what else? Bounce Palooza, which is with my friend Jill. Those are like a party, a dance party. Now, if you're thinking like you want to join my channel, then you get 4 live classes a week that can be replayed at your convenience. So I have a handlebar hit class, a gentle senior strength class. My Saturday class is the more challenging one. It's choreography. And then Sunday, we call it Sunday 60. It's 30 minutes of gentle rebounding and 30 minutes of stretching. Very, very beginner friendly. And I always tell people at the very beginning, I have what are called stop options. So like in the handlebar hit class, we go for 10 minutes. There's a stop option. If you want to be done there, we do it a little more, and then you can take another stop option. So you can really customize and pick and choose the way that you want to do it. And those, of course, if you are at work and can't take the class live, or maybe you love the class and you want to take it again, those all stay available to members as long as they're a member. And then I have my Lymph Love series, which is part of the membership too. And that's the group of women who have chronic illness or are looking to lose a lot of weight. Now, what's been interesting about that series in particular is we've been at it for 4 months. There's like just under 20 videos in the series right now. And what's happening is the group is kind of starting to shift where some of the group members have figured out, like, you know what? I just want to do this in a gentle way. I don't want to progress. I don't want to do anything fancy, or, I just want to keep it very gentle. And then you have a couple in the group who are like, I am loving this and I'm ready to level up. I want harder. I want faster. So I've created from that Lymph Love what I call crossover videos for the people who have done the Lymph Love and they're like, yes, I'm ready. I want some more. I want to lift off the surface of the rebounder. I have these crossover videos. So it's a lot at first, like a little confusing because there's so much, but if you follow my weekly live schedule and then do a handful of my pre-recorded workouts here and there, that's kind of usually what I suggest.
That's awesome. Is there only one level of membership? Like everybody pays the whatever monthly fee and they get like access to all of it, or do you have levels?
I do have levels. The first level is $4.99 a month, and that is access to all those live classes. So 4 classes a week. Level 2, you get the beginner progression program, which has the 50 videos with my grandma Helen. That's for people who really want that slow introduction. And then you also get my yoga videos at that level. And then I do have a 3rd level just for, there's not anything necessarily extra at that level, but there are people in this world who have a little more or want to give a little more or want to support at the highest level. And so
because the value is greater than, because you always want to create a non-barrier for entry, but at the same time, somebody can appreciate all that you're able to offer. And they're like, hey, this is worth $20 a month for me, And
it really, honestly, the amount that people, because you're getting, if you consider there's 4 weeks in a month, you're getting minimum 4, 8, 12, 16 classes a month for $5. I think it breaks down to like a quarter a class, or,
exactly.
30 cents. And so for me, the goal though, is if I have enough people willing to do that membership, then it makes it worth it for me and my time.
And what people can, consider is that in order to keep you sustainable and have your channel stay alive, that you can actually continue to do the good work that you're doing, you need to be able to support your time, right? And so I appreciate that and, value that in people that, that's a great value because, and you can tell us if you had an open brick and mortar where you were charging for yoga class, how much would one of your yoga classes be?
Right. $10 to $15.
Exactly. Yeah. Each yoga class,
yes.
Right? To me, yoga is like super expensive,
it is.
From a like if you want to go 3 times a week to yoga, oh
Mhm.
my God, $30 a week times 4.
I
That's
know.
$120. And that's not even every day. Think about people who go more frequently,
It
you know?
is kind of tough because there's so much free content on YouTube that there are people who, in their mind, they're like, well, why would I pay when it's all free? But if you think about the person behind it and the amount of work and that they are putting into it, and my husband's a teacher, and honestly, because we live in an area of the country where it's low cost of living, I've been able to spend the time to build this channel where many families in a city with a larger cost of living, that just wouldn't have been possible. I'd have had to, after my business closed from the pandemic,
Go back to school.
or get a different job or something
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. I mean, I like the idea of people recognizing that, you know, honoring what people are able to provide for you gets you more. And actually, I mean, in my belief system, money is energy. And when you push it out there, it flows back to you. So if you stay stagnant and hold on and go, oh no, I want everything for free, you're not activating the energy flow of prosperity and abundance. And so I believe, I mean, your prices are so reasonable, $4.99.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think you're giving a good service to the public.
And you're probably experiencing right now what I experienced is this amount of effort of work. I had to work for free for a year or two, essentially, before I could earn the amount of subscribers and the watch time in order to monetize.
Yeah, actually, I tell my channel, I said, when we just, like, I say we achieved it together because we're creating community, and we just hit it 2 days ago, the 1,000 subscriber mark. And now it's like I can breathe, because I hit that threshold. But you know how long it took me to get that? It took me over 18 months to get that. And so, it didn't kick in until I started to do something that served the population. And now that I'm serving the population, I'm providing a service that inspires and motivates people like myself to get moving. And, I'm 55, and there was a girl today, if she listens to this, Ariel in Austin, Texas, shout out to you, because she messaged me from Instagram, and I don't even put stuff hardly on Instagram because I'm focused on YouTube and not diverting my traffic over to other social media platforms. And so she said, oh my God, you've inspired me. I've been in a funk. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so glad I can inspire someone who's younger than me.
Yeah. I have found though that social media has definitely helped me grow my YouTube channel. Specifically TikTok. I know
by driving people over to this is your base, your hub, YouTube, right?
It is, but I have more followers on TikTok. I have, I think 130,000. So every time I have a video over there that does well, I see a spike on YouTube. People coming over because they were inspired by that video. Now I will take those videos and put them on YouTube Shorts or Instagram Reels.
Yeah,
but
I can do that, and I will. I have all those channels. I mean, my background is social media for other companies. I'm just tired of all the work that I have to do. So I'm just trying to let me just get over some major barriers before I start. Because I'd like to just hire someone. I would like to hire someone to go pump out, crop my videos and pump them out. So now that I'm past the 1,000, I have a little bit more breathing room, because I got laid off in 2021, and I haven't worked, but I've been also focused on doing this in order to have it in my future, like for retirement, when I don't want to work anymore and I can just play with my channel, so I'm hoping to inspire the world to get up and get moving more in 24. That's like my little thing. More in 24.
Yes.
So anyway, okay, so we talked about your membership. Can you think of anything that you would like to talk about that I'm not asking you to talk about that you want to share?
I do have a private Facebook group called Rebounding for beginners and seniors. And we've cultivated kind of a community of kindness over there. So it's a really great place to get your questions answered, to get kind of a cheerleading section. Like,
yeah, a little interaction.
Yes. And that's really been a nice spot for people. Some people discover Earth and Owl that way. Some people find Earth and Owl and then go, I want to join the Facebook group.
Right.
So that's a good resource. I have if you're really needing that understanding of things for when you're getting started, there's a playlist on my channel called Getting Started. And it's a really, really good resource that talks about some of the problems people encounter. It's got several form tutorials that break it down in different ways because we all learn a little bit differently. And there's also I did a video recently on how to use YouTube, because so many of my demographic.
I saw that. That was so good.
Yes. So many of my demographic, they're just sort of like blindly searching around YouTube for videos.
It just happens. Like, you just show up.
Yes. There's a better way.
They don't know how to find you. You just show up.
Yeah. So I kind of give a little tutorial too, because I field a lot of questions about technology. A lot of my demographic is not well versed, so I made that video just to help people view videos from their TV or their iPad. Or
I saw that. That was good.
Yeah. So
I hope you know what? I hope that goes viral for you.
I do too.
That could be a good one. How long ago did you do that?
Just last week.
Okay, so and you put it on your intro page, right?
I did. I just took it down. I had it on my intro page for a week and I just replaced it. But I think it could be helpful to people, whether they're looking for specifically workout videos or not, just on how to kind of navigate.
Did you know, I'm sure you know this because you're very versed in this, but you could use it because it says here's an intro video for a first-time visitor. And then that second video, which is a returning visitor who doesn't get the intro, you could have it down there, for someone who's returning.
Yeah. So my intro, for people who are not subscribed, they see a welcome video, essentially. And then the returning viewer, I usually change those out every so often to maybe the latest workout.
Okay.
Something I think is important for people to see.
Right. So you're really actively engaging with changing your channel and stuff. All right. Let's see. What else do I need to know from Nikki?
One other thing I would add for beginners is just some things people are surprised by. You can feel nauseous when you first begin. That lymphatic push, as though, as that fluid is moving, for some people that creates a little bit of dizziness or a little bit of nauseousness. And for the most part, from all the people I've heard of, it does dissipate. Most people are able to work through it. They've maybe started with too much. So I'll say, back off. The other thing is a lot of people aren't stretching enough. That kind of warm up, especially if you've been inactive for a while. If you hop on your rebounder and you're feeling those burning calves, your feet are hurting, a lot of that can be remedied by just doing a few minutes of stretching beforehand.
Right. And let's mention too, if you buy a $30 Amazon or cheap, rebounder, if it's super tight, it can cause ankle, knee, and back pain. And so if you are experiencing that, first also check with, how is your rebounder? Does it offer you a soft bounce? Does it have the right kind of ergonomic springs? That's not the right term, but the scientific springs that have graduation, and some of the ones that are cheaper have the little straight springs. So just be careful which rebounder you end up getting. I do want to ask you about rebounders, but go ahead.
Yeah, well, that's what I was just getting ready. So I wrote a blog post just a few days ago. I have a blog on my website, and I think I titled it "The Truth About Body Weight and Rebounder Tension," because there's such a correlation, and your experience is going to be impacted by those two things.
Yeah.
So when I had my in-person studio, I had rebounders set to different tensions. And the people who were maybe plus size or, on that weight loss journey, they sort of naturally on their own started going, I like this rebounder better after. And so they were all sort of gravitating towards the firmer tension rebounders. And what happens is if you have someone who's 150 pounds and you have someone who's 300 pounds and you're on the very same rebounder, Okay. The 300-pound person is going to sink a lot lower, and it's going to take more effort and exertion they're working harder. They're working harder than the 150-pound person. But if you put those two people on tensions that are the correct tension for their weight, it levels the playing field. So they're both sinking the same amount, and it makes that discrepancy between the amount of work required, it lessens that discrepancy.
So are you saying like a 300-pound person needs a tighter tension than
a little bit firmer tension? Yes. That way they're not sinking so low that it destabilizes their joints. Now they've sunk so low that they're off balance. It's destabilizing. They sink the same amount as the 150-pound person.
Yeah.
So the trick is, though, you don't want a rebounder that's so firm that it's jarring.
Right. That you're jumping on a hard surface. Yeah.
Yes. So this is the part that's difficult, because a lot of people say to me, I don't know if I'm going to like this, so I just want to buy something cheap. And
right.
What happens, though, is that you don't like it. You don't like it because you've bought something that is not
comfortable.
Yeah. So there are a couple brands I like. Like I said earlier, the best rebounder for you is the one you're going to use. But I use the Jumpsport. Jumpsport has two models or two sizes. They have a 39-inch and a 44-inch. And they can be a little confusing because there's so many, like they have the 350, the 350 Pro, the 400, the 500. What I tell people is on my website, I only have the models I recommend. So if you're like, which ones does she really like? Go to my website and you'll see the models there. So Jumpsport has adjustable tension. Here, I'll just show you right quick.
Why does somebody need the wider 44 versus the little one? So tell us how to determine surface area.
I think for some people, they just feel a little safer with a little more
room. Yeah. So they don't like jump through the springs or jump through the cords.
I use the 39-inch, and there's only like a few lateral moves where I wish I had more space. So for me, the portability of the small one, the storage I would rather have the small one for those reasons. But if you've got all the space in the world, budget is good.
If you have a big barn, you can jump in.
Right. So you can see on this one, these little knots, right?
That's huge. Yeah.
So you can adjust these knots and make it firmer or less firm.
Yeah. Did you put that together?
Jumpsports come assembled.
Wow. That's even better.
You just have to screw the leg on. There's a little piece right here.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes. So they're all assembled. The other brand that has adjustable tension is Bellicon, of course. I've owned both, and I found there to be such a small difference. And
it wasn't worth the price.
Yeah, that I was like, well, why is the Bellicon $200 more?
Yeah.
But I did have one in my studio, and I had the really firm bungees on it for my plus size. So it's a great rebounder too, but I always just figured, like, doesn't everybody want to save $200?
Yeah. Did you do for the plus size girls or whoever, did you give the wider 44?
I did have women. Yes, I had a 570 Pro that was the 44. I had the Bellicon, which I can't remember. I must have had a 40. I had a bigger size Bellicon. It wasn't the 49-inch, but it might have been in between the 39 and the 49. Anyhow,
that's like almost 4 feet, right? Across 48 inches.
Yes, it's a lot. I know.
Yeah.
When they're almost like, this is just personal. I just think they're like so big that if your house is small or anything like that, you'll adapt. I always tell people you will adapt to the size that you end up choosing.
Yeah.
So, and then the lower price rebounder I recommend sometimes is the Leaps and Rebounds. It's not adjustable tension, and the weight limit is lower. So it kind of excludes a lot of people, that weight limit. I think it's 250, whereas Jumpsport is, depending on the model, you get 300 to 325, and then the Bellicon is 440.
You know, I would give people a context here. I bought my NEDAC in 2003, and that's what I'm jumping on right now. So I've had my rebounder for 20 years and it's still doing okay.
Yeah.
Now, I won't probably buy another, even though Cellulosator David Hall recommends springs versus bungees. I don't know if I trust the springs as much as seems like a bungee can handle a higher impact bounce because my springs the steel can break from
Yeah.
use. And I popped on Christmas Eve. I was doing my 5-minute booster and a spring broke on live TV.
Oh my goodness. Yikes. Yeah. You know what I say? There's a lot of really devoted Cellulosator users, and if they love it, that's amazing. What I have found though is that a spring rebounder works for some, a bungee rebounder works for all. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably going to try probably a Jumpsport or a Bellicon if I have the money.
For my next one. Is a barrier. They're expensive. But what I tell people to that end is that how much would you spend on a treadmill or elliptical? And these are so much more versatile. There's so much more you can do than walking or jogging on a treadmill or doing the one single motion on an elliptical.
And for the rest of your life, right? As a aging person. And it's funny because I bought mine when I was 30 and I wish I had the bar now, because I was like, I'm 30. I don't need that old person bar. Back when I bought it. Now I'm an old person.
Have one that you could, I always say, check with the company. They might have.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I'm just saying, like, now I'm an old person. I wish I had the bar. So I would say that if you're going to keep your rebounder forever, like it can last, then go ahead and get the bar. For the girls on that other channel, they use the bar a lot to do different acrobatic style jumping. And so it supports them to jump higher.
What I've noticed with the Cellulosator workouts specifically, they're very repetitive. Like you do a motion over and over and over, and like you're working on this muscle group or you're working on that. The workouts I offer are not quite that repetitive. I do, like, for example, I like doing a workout that I call Fun with 4. So it's a little bit more like aerobics on a trampoline where we're breaking something down into 4 counts. So we might do 4 front punches, and then we might switch to 4, front taps or something like that. That just kind of, it's a little more, keeps your brain engaged.
I was going to say that requires brain work.
Yeah. Where for me, a repetitive movement over and over and over, that would be boring for me. I would rather have my brain involved and feel like I'm not thinking about my grocery list. I'm not thinking about when is this workout over. I'm not thinking about, oh my gosh, I got to cook dinner.
It's almost meditative, right? Because your brain is actively engaged. And so you're not worrying about these other things.
Exactly. I call it a moving meditation.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, golly, it's been so fun. Is there anything that we need to cover before we wrap up and say goodbye to Nikki for her day today?
I think we covered a lot, so I'll probably think of something later, but
yes. And I want you to know that my email is always open if you have any questions or need anything. And actually, I'll just say this. I would like to maybe discuss with you me highlighting you on my other channel and just letting the world know about the good that you're doing to help people move more and feel active and engaged in their health and their wellness and their journey. I think you're doing great work out there. And I appreciate you saying yes to my request to highlight you.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see you soon. Thank you so much for coming on.
Bye-bye.
Bye. We've reached the end of this episode. If you'd like to continue with this motivational journey, be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss out each time we load a new episode. If you have an inspirational story to share or want to let us know about a potential guest, we'd love to hear about it. Contact us at avantiwellness.com. See you next time, and remember, change is good.